Are you thinking about starting or nourishing a career in menstrual cycle health? Then consider joining our 9-month online holistic hormone and cycle coaching certification training. In this training, you get science-backed and evidence-based education, as well as teachings about the somatic aspects of having a menstrual cycle, functional nutrition, hormone testing, and much, much more. We will have incredible live group sessions, and you will get guidance from me. There will also be amazing guest teaching lectures from experts in the field, and at the end you will receive an official certificate of completion that is globally recognized. As a listener of the podcast, you receive an additional €100 off when you use the code PODCAST when you sign up. Click on the link in the show notes to learn more. This is such a rooting, grounding episode. Or at least it was for me when I recorded it with Margot, who is a midwife. And there's actually a funny story. We tried to record this podcast a couple of years ago, and then somehow we lost the audio. It just would not save. So I'm really happy that today we got to record the podcast again. And again, it was an absolute gem. And I just love the way that Margot approaches midwifery. In this episode, we talk about what midwifery means for her, what her journey has been in the last 10 years with midwifery in her profession, in her field, how she has developed herself, and how she's using her skills and her knowledge and her wisdom as a midwife. We spoke about her approaches to midwifery, and she also shared about her own personal journey of becoming a mother and how her own birth experience has shaped how she looks at her work, how she does her work. And for me, it was such a, like I said, such a rooting, no nonsense, down to earth episode where, I just got to sit down with this incredible woman sharing the ins and outs about midwifery, what it is, how we can benefit from having a midwife as our care provider, whether it is in our journey of becoming a parent or in our cyclical health journey. We spoke about autonomy. What is autonomy when it comes to our bodies? What is autonomy when it comes to birthing our babies? Why is autonomy important? What happens when there is no autonomy available to us, or we feel that it is not available to us? And the way that Margot just approaches this is so enlightening and so clear. And I cannot wait for you to hear our conversation. And I really hope that it gives you some insights and some tools and some perspective on how to approach your journey if you are deciding to become a parent in this lifetime and to birth your children into this world. And this episode is also for people who work in birth, because Margot also offers support and knowledge to people who work in birth. And I think she does that in an absolutely unique way. And in the episode, she'll share how she does that and why it is important as birth workers that we have access to information like this. And without further ado, enjoy listening to this podcast. Let us know what you think about it. You can find all Margot's information in the show notes if you want to reach out to her, if you want to follow her work, and enjoy this episode. And if you have a moment, feel free to share with us what you think. And feel free to rate the podcast. It really helps us to spread information like this.
Hello, friends. My name is Iris Josephina. I'm your host, and you are listening to the Planting Seeds podcast. On the Planting Seeds podcast, we explore how we can cultivate a more gentle relationship with our cyclical bodies, the earth, each other, and the world around us through using our senses, science, the subtle, and the secret. On Planting Seeds, we talk about all those topics you've always wanted to talk about. We are shamelessly opening up the conversations that we all so desperately need to settle in our precious bodies and relate to each other in a more open, truthful, and empowered way. I'm so glad you're here today.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the podcast. Today, I am sitting here with a midwife, Margot van Dijk. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I'm very happy that we're here again because we tried to record this episode and then something went wrong when we tried it.
Oops.
So I'm really happy that you could make some space and time to be here with us today and to speak about midwifery and autonomy of our bodies and midwifery approaches. And before we start, I wanted to ask you whether you can maybe take a moment to introduce yourself and share about all the beautiful things that you're doing in the world with your profession in midwifery and how you've expanded that.
Yeah, definitely. So I am a midwife now for over 10 years. And in those 10 years, I think a lot has changed too. I started as a 22-year-old midwife. And now looking back to it, I'm like, whoa, I was so young and I had no clue of the world and motherhood. And at the moment, I am in such a different phase of my life where I'm also a mother recently. My daughter, River, she's now 7.5 months old. And that also brings a new layer of depth in my job as a midwife. So apart from working as a midwife, like in the field, in the Netherlands, I've worked in the Netherlands and I've worked in South Africa for a little bit as well. And at the moment, I'm working in a different way. So I'm still a midwife. I have some clients, but I also build a platform. It's called Vraag de Vroedvrouw, which basically means like ask the midwife. And it's a platform where I share in-depth information for both pregnant people and birth workers, because I really struggle. Well, I think the one theme in those 10 years, even as a 22-year-old midwife, the overall theme is that I struggled with guidelines. Not so much because I'm against guidelines, because that's always what people think, like, oh, you're against guidelines. But I find it takes kind of the heart out of the midwifery care, I think. Because a guideline is just a guideline, and a person is like so much more than a guideline, you know? You don't fit in a guideline, you don't fit in the research. And what I really missed is like a place where, in Dutch, following the Dutch guidelines, there's more space to discover like, hey, what does research say and why is the guideline how it is? But are there also maybe alternative options? Because they are there and also often covered by research as well. So yeah, I built that platform and that's now 2 years ago. And that's going really well as well. So I'm really happy with that. And it's, I think, like the right information or more like spectrum of information, I think it really helps women or pregnant people to make their own decisions and already take like ownership of the process of being pregnant, giving birth, and becoming a parent. And I realized that if I only talk to pregnant women, then I kind of miss one step. So this is why I really included the birth workers. And at the moment, I think the birth workers are more the main group of people that I work with on the platform. So I write articles, give master classes, and provide information in many different ways. So that's how it looks like right now.
I think what I really love about this initiative that you took to start this platform is that you offer an opportunity for nuance and complexity.
Yeah.
Because the human body is so nuanced, is so complex. And I really feel with this platform, you're inviting people to open up their minds.
Yeah.
To just look at different options. And I also feel when people see a whole spectrum of options, they also have more ability to feel heard and seen. Because as you say, not everybody falls in this tiny guideline. So I'm really appreciative of you like taking a stance and taking leadership in this in our country to offer this to people. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, and I think the word nuance is the right word for sure. Like, I think nuance is my middle name, kind of. Because, you know, like, it's so complex. It's like you have on the one side, like the medical technology birth world, and on the other side, like the supernatural birth world.
Yeah.
But there's so much space in between. And you never know. Like, I also, with my own birth story, I really discovered again, like, you don't know what's gonna unfold for you. And then you can, like, be stubborn and only want to look in one direction. But if you know the full spectrum, then you can make, like, truly, yeah, choices that really empower you, basically.
And I also loved in the beginning that you started this when you were 22. I became a doula when I was 23.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I think we are like from the same from the same age group. Like I'm 33 now.
Yeah, me too.
So this is like 10 years ago, and I loved how you said like, oh, you know, I was really a baby and I didn't know anything, and I feel I feel the same way about this in this field. And also how, and you're even a step further because you already crossed that bridge to parenthood yourself. So I feel you even have a broader spectrum of looking at the entirety of the birth continuum. So I really love that you mentioned that. And it also, I think people listening, especially birth workers too, like it also gives us permission to go like, oh yeah, we're like on a constant learning journey. Like it never stops.
Definitely.
It never stops.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah. And I also love how you mentioned that your own experience gave you information as well and gave you, knowledge about this. And I think that's the beauty about working with people and their bodies and being a person and being in a body.
Mm-hmm.
So there is all the research out there, but we also have our own personal experience, our own interaction with our clients. So I love that you brought that up. And with that, I'm also curious, like where you're standing now, the profession of a midwife, what does that mean to you at this point in your life where you are?
Well, that's a cool question. Like what it means to me is that I think from being a midwife, I think in Dutch we have kind of two words for being a midwife. The one is like the medical midwife kind of. Mm-hmm. And we have a word that means wise woman. And I think I transformed over the past 10 years from the like medical midwife with only knowledge on the medical scope of practice to a wise woman midwife, where I feel I am more a guide to women and their partners. So more like in those years, what really changed is that I realized like I do not know any better than them. Because even though I studied and I've attended like, I don't know, I've witnessed 500 births or something like that. So I could say like, oh, I'm really experienced. And I am, you know, like I am in a way. I'm not unexperienced, but like I never know how it is to be the other person. So I see more and more that I provide information and the care that they want me to give, I offer them, but like not so much in a I know better way. I think that's the biggest difference where I'm now. And the funny thing is, in the beginning I said like my job as a midwife, and then I've always said like being a midwife doesn't feel like a job to me. But now I'm a mother, I must say, it kind of became a job, which is really weird. It is more like, it puts so much in perspective. And I think it's because my baby is still a baby. I see that with other, my friends as well. You know, the first year, you're just like one unity with your baby. So all the rest is so different. So at the moment, yeah, it feels like a job. And that's also a process in me at the moment, like feeling like, oh, yeah, I don't know, it's weird. It's still a passion. But it's a bit more like, yeah, maybe I finally have some boundaries in it or so, something like that. Like I could be a midwife all the time, 24/7. And, you know, my colleagues would call me anytime and they would show up. And I'm like, okay, no, I also need some time. And like, yes, it has changed for sure. Yeah. And then also becoming a mother. I think the coolest thing about becoming a mother is that it really confirmed my beliefs on giving birth. Like I've always felt like it does not matter. It should not matter where you give birth. Like I really wanted to give birth at home, but I ended up in the hospital. I chose to go to the hospital. And it was a great experience, and I felt so safe and so loved and so seen, and it was such an amazing experience. And then I was confirmed again, like, oh yeah, this is how it should be. It should not matter if you need medical help or not. Like, it should be a great experience above all. And I was in the lead as a mother, and that was really confirming how important that is. Because now it feels just like a powerful experience to me, where I see nowadays a lot of women where it's a traumatic experience to them.
Yeah.
And that is like, so sad. And that's more than sad. It's like terrible.
Yeah.
And that is, I think, one of my main reasons why I do what I do. Because I don't think it should not be necessary.
I agree.
It should be a good and strong and powerful experience.
And what you're touch upon here is actually the topic of autonomy. Like you had, it sounds like you had or felt that you had autonomy over your entire experience.
Definitely.
Yeah. How important is that to you? And for people who actually don't know what that is, could you describe what that could look like? Because it's a different experience for everybody. But you just brought up that for some people it can be traumatic. And then for some people, it's a very empowering experience where autonomy is at the center. Could you maybe express what autonomy means and how that kind of like opposes or is very different from a traumatic experience?
Yeah, so what autonomy is that you decide what happens to you. Like, you have a say. No, not more. It's more than having a say. Like, you decide, you say yes or no to anything that happens, basically, during the birth. And then often we talk about medical interventions or interventions that you have, that you decide, okay, I do want an internal exam or you don't. I do want to go in a bathtub or you don't. I want to be on hands and knees or standing so you're in the lead, basically. And then sometimes in making decisions in that, you will need knowledge or information from your care provider, or maybe from other people who join your birth or at your birth. It's not like, oh, I know everything better and I don't want any help. That's not the same. Maybe you need help or maybe you want help. Like, I felt after like a long time of having contractions, I really felt like I want an epidural right now. I didn't want it, but I knew I needed it. And because I made that decision myself, and my colleague, my midwifery colleague, she was at my birth and she would like give me alternative options. But I really felt like, no, all these alternative options, I was just give me the freaking epidural. And I would never think I would beg for it, but I did. And it was like, I must say, like, it was a great... The epidural itself was almost like orgasmic. To have the epidural was such a relief for me because it was exactly what I needed at that moment. And I would have never, ever, ever thought that I would ask it. So it's funny. So sometimes you prepare in a way and you think you know what you want. But yeah, life gives you sometimes something different to cope with. So for me, autonomy in that situation is that I gathered knowledge from my sister who was there and my midwife who was there. But I was the one who would feel like, oh yeah, what is right for me? And what do I want? What do I need? And because I was heard in that and respected in that, and because I felt safe, it was a great experience. And I think those three things are very important when it comes to an experience. So it would often make it like, I don't know exact numbers, but 80-90% of the traumatic experiences around birth is not because there was a complication. It's because there was no communication or lack of communication. So somebody did not feel heard, seen, respected. That's basically where it goes wrong. And because it's such a big life event, that's something you'll take with till the end of your days, basically.
I love when you said that sometimes you know that you think what you want, but as the experience arises, there may be a whole other arsenal of things that you want that you maybe never thought of that you would want. And I think that's also one of the key points of the process of birth. It's something that I've seen coming back with clients over and over and over again, that people, make up their minds about something. in the process, and then in the moment it's like the total opposite that they want.
It's funny.
And it's funny, but it also shows that there is such a big requirement for flexibility in this experience.
That is it. 100%.
Yeah, that I think a lot of people miss.
Yeah.
In preparation and in the moment itself, like, oh, we have this view, so we have to stick to the plan. And in birth, it's like, you can do anything but stick to the plan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that is the best way to put it, for sure. Plus, like, it's kind of a balance. Like, you need to know what you want.
Yeah.
Like, as in, I always say, like, you have to create your favorite scenario for birth, because if you don't know what you want, you're never going to get it. Like, if you're not clear about it, like I was clear, I want a home birth and I want those people around, etc., etc. Because if you leave it all open, then you don't know at all what's going to happen. But yeah, you need to also prepare for, like, okay, what if I want medical help, or what if there's a complication? Because if you know those scenarios, and you can't know everything because you're not a midwife. Most people are not midwives. Like, I felt lucky to be a midwife because I kind of had a discussion with the midwife in the hospital about medication and stuff, which I think normal other people would not have, but I did. I disagreed. But but like, if you know a bit more about, like, what other options, or what can happen, then I think that helps flexibility.
Yeah, I think if you have knowledge, the opportunity for flexibility broadens, for sure.
Yeah.
I wanted to say that these days people value, like, scientific knowledge and preparation and doing things in a certain way. So in the ways that culturally our brains are trained to cope with situations, it can be really helpful for people that they have all the information so that they can be flexible, because security and knowledge is often a requirement for people to open up to flexibility, because they have, like, the semi-control of, this is what can potentially happen and these are my options.
Yeah. But it does also, you also need, like, or what I needed, I don't think it maybe applies to everyone, but what I needed is also, like, being in tune with myself. Like, listen to myself and really, like, feel what is going on in my body and feel what my body needs, or what I think my body needs. So, but we're sometimes a bit maybe too stuck. But that's always the difficulty, because my whole platform is about knowledge and science and blah, blah, blah. but I do think the other part is also really important to learn that. But how do you learn it? I don't know. It's a kind of a skill. Maybe just life learns you the skill or so. To learn to listen to yourself and take yourself serious. Yeah,
and I feel, especially in the Netherlands, we could be supported maybe a little bit more to get into the somatics of what it means to be in the body, and learn how to listen to, like, the primary needs of our bodies. Like, oh, when am I tired? When am I hungry? When do I need to pee? Like, and I think these can really help to sense the body in the moment.
Definitely.
And I feel all the things that we are talking about right now, we are specifically talking about pregnancy and birth, and obviously also postpartum and beyond. What is your stance or your view around how midwifery, and specifically the midwifery that we know in the Netherlands and the approaches that we have where autonomy is at the base, how could these potentially broaden to the whole spectrum of cyclical and women's health?
I think it is, like, undeniably all one. Like, I wish also that midwifery would be women's health.
Yeah.
Not only the pregnancy, birth, postpartum. Because as midwife, we see also so much more than just pregnancy, birth, postpartum, but then we don't have all the knowledge or experience yet. So I think it is connected anyway. But I think it would be great if we start so much earlier with girls and boys, or with children or teenagers anyway, to inform on their body and what you're saying, the somatic experiences and how it works and how fertility works and etc. So that would be like, oh my, that's such a dream world for me, if that would be more the case. Yeah, because that's where it starts, right? Because suddenly you're pregnant, and then suddenly, you have to make decisions about yourself and be autonomous and etc. And some people are like, but I've never done that before, I've always listened to what other people tell me. It's weird. It's a difficult process for some people. So it would be nice if it starts a bit earlier. And I think like having a powerful experience around this, it will help, I think, in the women's health after being a mother or parent. In cyclical health, I think I often see that women also take more responsibility over that part of themselves as well after they've been through the process of pregnancy and birth and postpartum.
Yeah, what I am envisioning, and I've heard, I mean, it's very rare, but I've heard, for example, some midwives who also trained to, for example, take out and place IUDs and do things like that. Like in my ideal world, we would not have to go to a hospital, for example, to have that done, because you're not sick. It's not an intense procedure. It's also a procedure that can be done in a safe space with a midwife that you connect with.
Definitely.
So in my perfect view, a midwife could be like this bridge between like the huisarts, so the general GP, and the OBGYN, that the midwife could be like an in-between space where people with menstrual cycles could go for like a whole range of things that have to do with their fertility, their birth control, and their like miscarriage, abortion, like early pregnancy and continuous pregnancy care.
I think the IUDs are already in the Netherlands. A lot of midwives do that.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, more and more, the whole contraception part. Yeah. But then the miscarriage and the abortion part, like there's a big world. Like I think there's a lot to win there.
Yeah, in my experience, what I witnessed as a doula with clients, and also when I did my internship at a midwifery clinic in the Netherlands, is that very often when something is potentially wrong, there is a lot of like, okay, now you have to go to the hospital, and they completely go out of the picture.
Yeah.
While midwives, in my opinion, have like more of this sensitivity of this continuous care and make it less of a medical distant experience. And I would love to see that differently, where women could maybe continue receiving that support from a midwife instead of going into the medical space immediately and then being sent home and then sometimes not even receive a checkup. Like, also heard that.
Yeah, I think in the Netherlands you see like a bit of on the one side we have the group practices where midwives like have more clients together, and then we have the caseload midwives, and it's a small group. I was hoping to say that the group is growing, but I think it's like growing, but then there's also always people quitting. So it's still a small group, the caseload midwives in the Netherlands. And and I am a caseload midwife myself as well. And then we do stay and we do give much more postpartum care too, like longer time and more intensive. Because it's weird. We're so much focused on pregnancy and birth, where postpartum is the biggest thing. Like pregnancy is 9 months, postpartum of a birth is like maybe, if you're unlucky or so, 2 or 3 days. That's it. And then postpartum, we're not really talking about it so much, but that's like almost forever, right?
Yeah.
Postpartum, but at least the first year, and then there's so little focus on that part.
Yeah, there definitely is. Before we dive into that a little bit, maybe you can briefly explain what a caseload midwife is, because I don't know whether people listening know what that is.
So a caseload midwife, well, I think there's different options, but what I am as a caseload midwife is my caseload is I take 2 to 4, well now 2 because I have a baby myself, but before I kind of 4 or 5 women a month, so births a month, and then 2 or 3 months a year, like it's a holiday because you also need time off and you're 24/7 on call, or I am 24/7 on call. And I take care of my clients throughout the whole cycle of pregnancy, birth, postpartum. And it's much more intensive than the regular midwifery care in the Netherlands, where it's like 10 to 15 minutes per checkup. Or that's more checkup. And with me, it's more an in-depth consultation, often like 1.5 hours each time. And then it's so different. It's almost like you can't compare, because it's like I spend so much time with my clients, and I think the relationship between the midwife and the client and the pregnant woman and the partner, if there's a partner, that is like for me the base, the base of trust, where you can work together, and then you can talk about a subject like autonomy and what does it mean to you, and are you more on the medical technology side or more on the natural side, and how do you think about guidelines, and can you also carry the responsibility of your decisions, because there's also a lot of people who prefer following a guideline because it feels too difficult to carry the responsibility for the outcome if you don't follow a guideline. And you're not required to follow a guideline, by the way, but yeah, it asks for a different approach. And then in the Netherlands, the regular midwifery is more like often bigger practices, so 3 to 8 midwives. And when you're pregnant, you see them all. And it's like when you give birth, it's like just who's on call at that moment. So you often don't know your midwife. Maybe if you're lucky, you do, because you've seen her more times, but maybe you've seen her only once or never. And then she's at your birth. And then there's more births for them as well. Like when I worked in a regular midwifery practice, I would have shifts with like 2, 3, 4 births in 24 hours.
Oh, wow.
So that is like intense. It's very different. There's like, 2 women giving birth at the same time and you drive in between, or they both go to the hospital rooms next to each other. It's more, yeah, it's different. Whereas now, like if somebody gives birth, I'm at that birth. And if somebody else gives birth at the same moment, then my caseload midwifery colleague goes there. So yeah, it's very different.
Yeah, the profession of a midwife, like actually the load it takes of your own capacity, it's quite a lot. I think people really underestimate what it means
100%
practically to be a midwife.
Yeah, it's practically, and it's also it sounds maybe a bit dramatic when I say it out loud, but it is how it feels. I don't always feel but like we work with life and death. Like we work on the border kind of, or I sometimes say like we work through the same gate, where life goes and where death goes.
Yeah.
And the responsibility that comes with that, like I'm not responsible for the outcome because I can't, like I'm not like God or however you would call it. Like I can't decide on life or death, luckily. But the feeling of it, that you work with life and death can sometimes be very intense. Especially when complications arise, or when somebody wants something outside of guidelines, or when somebody wants something very different than you think is best for them, etc. Then, sometimes there's conflicts that arise for sure.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. You gave me goosebumps when you mentioned that, because I think a lot of people don't understand also the mental and emotional flexibility you need to have as a midwife to just do the profession, to just do whatever it takes to be there to support a client. And also what you just mentioned, when someone wants something that falls out of the guideline, you need to use your moral compass and see how it fits into the situation, but also, how does that fit into what is legally possible, and how does that work for you? How does that work for your client? Where's the liability? So all these things. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. It's a huge responsibility, and I have so much respect for people who, dare to be on the front line of this and do everything they possibly can to support their client, because eventually that's what you do.
And then I think for me, it makes it easier to be a caseload midwife, because then I build a relationship with my client. And in that relationship, I can also I work with the relationship, basically. And then I can also see why other midwives work more in a regular practice, because they prefer more to be off or, to work in a different way. I don't think it's a wrong way, but for me, this is really meaningful to me, to work this way.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful to be able to work this way. And I also feel really blessed that, it's still possible in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Like I worked and lived in countries where, I worked as a doula in Malta, and the profession of a doula is completely illegal. Like there is no, there is no protection at all. And here in Portugal, it's a little bit different, but it's still tricky.
Yeah.
Like right now, it's intense. And even as a midwife here, it's, I'm not a midwife, but I know midwives here. It's a very different experience than in the Netherlands. And I think we're really blessed there.
Yeah, especially when it comes to home birth. I've also talked to 2 midwives in Portugal because I was there, and like 2 midwives. But oh my, it seemed like that whole responsibility is so much bigger.
Yeah, and the risk to just support someone.
Yeah, your own for yourself as a human being. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's crazy. Like I'm also protected by law.
Yeah, we're really fortunate.
Yeah, the Netherlands is a great country for that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to have my babies in the Netherlands, like
wherever.
wherever.
So I flew all the way from Canada to have my baby here. I was like, no way. Even Canada has a pretty good system, but being in that system already in the first little bit, I felt like, oh my, no, I can't give birth here. Only the C-section rate is like 33% where I was. So I was like, no way that I'm going to give birth here, you know? And 1 in 3, that's crazy.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I think the Netherlands is definitely one of the best places in the world to give birth.
Yeah, definitely agree. And if you could share some of your wisdom with both pregnant people and birth workers to close off, what would you say to people who are about to conceive or who are pregnant? And what would you say to birth workers in the field of birth?
I think for when you're pregnant, number 1 is for sure, like, do not forget your postpartum time. Like, make your postpartum time priority number 1, I think, above birth. Like, to really dive into it, what it means to be postpartum, and learn about breastfeeding and learn about, I don't know, all that, like baby sleep and how to feed yourself and nourish yourself and have a team of people around you. And then I think for birth, next to knowledge about birth, because you are birthing in a system. Like in like the ideal world, like you would not need all the knowledge. But in this world where we work in a medical system, I think you need knowledge, not only on birth itself, but also on the system, what it means to give birth in the system. Not as because it's a terrible system, but it can be difficult to navigate in some ways. And therefore, I think it's really important to have a really good birth team. So the people around you who you invite to your birth is super, super important. And if you have a midwife or another care provider or who else, and it does not feel okay at your birth, just don't do it. Search for somebody else. Even if you're 41 weeks, you know, like switch midwives or care provider. Because I think your birth team is going to play a big role in how safe and respected and seen you will feel. And then for birth workers, I don't know. I think before I would have this idea of like, maybe we can change the system together. And then now I'm more at like, I don't think we can change the system. Or maybe we can, like in a, I don't know, very, very long-term way. But if every day you wake up with the idea, I have to change the system, that's a heavy, heavy burden. So I think how I see it is like one woman or one baby, one couple of parents or parents at a time, where you zoom in and create space for them to, discover their autonomy, discover the process. And then next to that, like also, I would also say birth team, not for being at the birth, but more like other birth workers that you really feel you can cry and laugh with, like recharge with. Maybe sometimes complain about the stupid things you've seen in the field. And also dream big, to dream big with them. I don't know, maybe you want to also build a birth farm like Ina May Gaskin or anything, like dream big too. But don't feel like you have to wake up every morning and grab your swords to fight the system, because, you're going to be burnt out, I think.
Yeah, I love that you brought up to not have the feeling that you need to fight something. I feel everywhere in our society there is this attitude of having like to fight the big systems regardless of the field that you're in. But the harsh fight will completely distract you from the passion that you can have for the field that you chose. And I think as a baby doula at 23, I definitely had this feeling of like, we need to like change the entire system and it's really bad. And it actually burned me out, like you said. And it's now like enjoying like the small steps, the small victories of your clients and seeing them transform in front of you. Like how powerful is that you can, at such a short period of time of like 9 months or briefer, that you can see this person transform and also see them make this rite of passage from a person without children to all of a sudden a parent, and that you can witness and accompany this. Like for me right now, that's like the biggest victory.
Yeah.
Like if I can support people to have a positive experience, like that's the big change that I want to see.
Yeah, exactly. That is.
If I imagine that every single birth worker on your platform is doing that on their own small scale, and imagining how many people we are, like it's big. It's already big.
Exactly. I think so too, for sure. And then it's much healthier for yourself as well.
Yeah, and it doesn't take away the pleasure in the work, because I feel if you do this work, there is also a big chunk of like, it may be pleasureful for you, like to do your work. Like you can have joy in your work.
Yeah, exactly.
And when it's a fight, it's easier to take that out, that joy part out. So, and if people want to find you, if people want to become a member of your platform, where can they find you?
Oh, yeah. Instagram would be the best place. So, Vroedvrouw Margot, good luck spelling. The Dutch word.
I'll put it in the notes.
Yeah. And then my platform is vraagdevroedvrouw.nl. So that is where you can find me. Yeah, that are the main sources.
Amazing. I will paste all of that in the notes so people can definitely find it. And I just want to, reaffirm, like this platform has a part for birth workers, but it also has a part for people who are pregnant. So in whatever field you belong, whatever group you belong,
definitely,
there is something for you. Like if you're trying to get pregnant, if you are pregnant, if you're postpartum, or you're a birth worker, you can be satisfied on that platform for sure.
Yeah. Yes.
And I just want to thank you for your time, for your wisdom, for your knowledge, for all the work that you do, and for coming on here to share it with us and share your passion.
Yeah, thanks so much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, with your friends, with your family, post about it on social media, or leave a rating or a review on all the platforms. To catch all the latest news from me, you can follow at the Planting Seeds podcast on Instagram or at Cycle Seeds on Instagram, or you can go to my website www.cycleseeds.com. Thank you again so much, and I'll see you next time.